3 true Uber horror stories. It was just a routine Uber ride home. A black car pulls up. A nod. A door opens. But 10 minutes later, she realized something wasn't right. The driver wasn't talking. The app wasn't tracking. And the locks were engaged. This is a true story called The Wrong Driver. Jenna, a 22-year-old college student in Los Angeles, had just finished a late-night shift at a bookstore cafe. It was nearing midnight. Tired and slightly buzzed from 2 espresso shots, she stood under a flickering streetlight, pulled out her phone, and ordered an Uber to take her back to her campus apartment. It pinged. Driver en route. Black Toyota Camry. Plate 8JK193. 5 minutes later, a black Camry pulled up right in front of her. Tinted windows. Clean. Right model. The license plate matched. At least, the first few digits. The rear window rolled down just enough for a man's eyes to appear. Jenna? She nodded. He nodded back. She got in. The first thing she noticed, no greetings. Not even a hi, or, "How's your night?" But maybe he was just tired. It was late. The car began moving, but something was off. He didn't start the trip in the app. No, trip started, notification. No estimated arrival time. Just driving. She looked up. No phone mount. No GPS. No navigation voice. That's when her stomach tightened. "Excuse me, are you following the route?" The driver didn't answer. He just kept driving. Calm. Focused. Too focused. Jenna looked at her screen again. Her Uber app still said, "Waiting for pickup." The trip hadn't even officially started. Then, he took a left. Not toward the highway. Not toward campus. He was turning into an industrial area. Quiet warehouses, chain-link fences, and potholes filled with rainwater. Not a single other car in sight. "I think you took a wrong turn." The driver finally spoke. But it wasn't friendly. "Just sit back," he said flatly. "You'll be fine." That phrase shattered her calm. "You'll be fine." Her mind raced. She reached slowly into her coat and pressed the side of her phone, starting a voice memo while pretending to text. Then, thinking quickly, she raised her voice a bit. "Yeah, I'm almost there," she said out loud. "You're tracking me, right? You see where I am?" It was a gamble. The man looked into the rearview mirror. Something in his face shifted. Not fear. Just annoyance. Another turn. Then another. And suddenly, they were back on a main road. He pulled into a gas station parking lot and slammed the brakes. "Get out." She didn't argue. She got out, still holding her phone, heart pounding like a jackhammer. He didn't wait. He sped off, tires screeching as he disappeared into the night. Inside the gas station, Jenna called 911. She also messaged her real Uber driver, yes, the one who had actually arrived 4 minutes after she had left with the wrong car. The police came and reviewed camera footage from the store. Unfortunately, they couldn't catch the license plate clearly, just the shape of the vehicle. Jenna filed a report and contacted Uber. They confirmed that no trip had started on her account that night. The car she entered didn't match any active Uber registration nearby. And no driver named Jenna had been accepted by that license plate. That man was never found. Aftermath. Jenna later posted her story online. It went viral on safety forums and Reddit. Several other women commented with similar stories in the same region, wrong cars showing up minutes before their actual driver. No trip starting. Just a nod. Just silence. Experts believe this may be part of a trend where unregistered drivers try to pose as rideshare operators, preying on distracted, tired, or young passengers outside bars and stores. Uber and Lyft both issued new safety updates months later. Now, most apps display driver selfies, PIN codes, and real-time tracking before a trip can even begin. A black car pulls up. You think it's your ride. But if they never start the app, they're not taking you home. Case 2. The passenger who vanished. He picked up a man in the middle of the night from a cemetery. Pale. Silent. Distant. The trip lasted 15 minutes. But when he looked back to say goodbye, the back seat was empty. And the ride? Never even happened. This is the true story of the passenger who vanished. Marcus had been driving for Uber for nearly 2 years. 7,000 plus rides. Dozens of 5-star ratings. No complaints. He considered himself a night owl. He liked the quiet, the open roads, the passengers too tired to make small talk. But one night in early February 2020, something happened that made Marcus sell his car and never drive again. It was 2:11 a.m. A request came in, pick up at South Greenwood Cemetery, just outside of Chicago. That was odd. But not unheard of. He picked people up from weirder spots, behind bars, after-hours clubs, even a cornfield once. He assumed it was someone drunk, sneaking in for a dare or mourning a loved one. So he accepted. The GPS guided him down a narrow, unlit road. Thick fog had started to creep in from the nearby river. And then, he saw him. A man in a gray hoodie, standing just outside the cemetery gates. He wasn't moving. Just waiting. Marcus rolled down the window. Uber for, John? The man nodded but didn't speak. He opened the back door and got in, slowly. Marcus glanced at him in the mirror. He looked about 40. Very pale. Deep-set eyes. Lips pressed tightly together. Where to, man? The man replied, in a flat voice. Just drive. I'll tell you when. Marcus shrugged. Not the weirdest request he'd gotten. They pulled away from the gates. Street lights flickered overhead. The car was silent. No radio, no phone, just the sound of tires over damp asphalt. He tried to break the tension. Rough night? No answer. Visiting someone? Still silence. The man just stared out the window. After 15 minutes of driving with only one vague instruction, keep going, the man finally spoke again. Here. Marcus pulled to the curb next to an old rundown motel. He put the car in park and turned around to say, Okay, that'll be. But the back seat was empty. There was no door sound. No light. No motion. Just an open, silent back seat. He froze. What the hell? He got out. Walked around the car. Checked the back seat again. No one. He felt his pulse spike. The hairs on his neck rose. He jumped back in and grabbed his phone. He opened the Uber app. No ride in progress. No completed trip. No rider named John. No fare. No stars. Nothing. It was as if the request had never existed. Confused, he called Uber's support line. The operator replied calmly. Sir, I don't see any trip logged at that time. Are you sure you accepted a ride? Marcus went pale. He even sent a screenshot of his GPS history. But Uber had no record of any request, any rider, or any route between the cemetery and that motel. What happened that night? The story spread across a Rideshare driver forum weeks later. Other drivers chimed in. Some had also received late-night pings from cemeteries, only to arrive and find no one there, or worse, someone who didn't speak, didn't blink, and didn't leave a trace. Some suggested a glitch in the system. Others said Marcus dozed off, imagined the whole thing. But Marcus saved the dashcam footage, or tried to. The card was corrupted when he tried to review it the next day. Unreadable. He even had a technician check it. Looks like it was wiped clean, they said. Marcus never drove again. He sold the car a week later and moved out of the city. He refuses to talk about the incident in interviews. But the story lives on in forums. In whispers. And sometimes, new drivers still report getting pings from cemetery gates. Usually around 2 a.m. They say if you pick him up, he might just disappear the moment you turn around. He wasn't looking for a ride. He was looking for a way back. And you just happened to be driving by. Case 3. The knife under the seat. It was just a short ride through the rain, The driver was polite. The car was spotless. But something felt off. And when she looked down to the floorboard, she saw it, a knife, taped under the driver's seat, pointing toward her. This is the true story of the knife under the seat. Selena, a 28-year-old art teacher from Atlanta, was never someone who scared easily. She had taken Ubers hundreds of times. Knew the routine. Double-checked the license plate. Matched the face. Locked the door. Headphones in. But that night in August 2022, something about the ride made her fingers tighten around her phone before she even stepped in. It had just started raining when she left her friend's apartment. Light drizzle, warm air, slick pavement. The Uber arrived on time, a silver SUV, clean and new. A man in his 30s sat behind the wheel, wearing a dark jacket and baseball cap. He gave a casual nod when she asked, "Hi, this is for Selena." "Yep," he replied. Then smiled. Wide. Too wide. She got in anyway. From the beginning, something was off. The driver kept glancing at her in the mirror. Not constantly, but often enough that she noticed. And when she checked her phone's route tracker, she realized they weren't heading toward her apartment. They were taking a longer route, through unfamiliar backstreets instead of the main road. GPS says turn right up here?" she offered gently. "Yeah," he said. "I know a shortcut." His voice was calm. Too calm. She noticed he hadn't started the trip in the app yet. Her screen still said, "Waiting for pickup." Selena's heart began to beat harder. But she tried to stay calm. She shifted in her seat, adjusting her posture, trying to look relaxed, then casually dropped her bag near the floorboard. That's when she saw it. A knife. Taped under the driver's seat. Not hidden well, just enough to be missed unless you were looking. A hunting knife, large, with black tape wrapped around the handle. The blade was angled toward the back seat, toward her. In that moment, everything changed. Selena didn't scream. She didn't freeze. She went into survival mode. Quietly, she opened her voice recorder, laid her phone face down in her lap, and began recording. Then she spoke, clearly, and loud enough for the mic. "Hey babe, I'm almost home. You're tracking my location, right? Still on the phone?" There was no call. But the driver tensed. He gripped the steering wheel tighter. His smile faded. Then, the car came to a red light near a 24-hour convenience store. She didn't wait. She yanked the door handle, pushed the door open, and jumped out, phone and bag still in hand. The driver shouted something, but she didn't look back. She ran inside the store and yelled for help. The police were called. But by the time they arrived, the SUV was gone. Selena gave them the driver's name, license plate, and ride record from her app. The terrifying part? By morning, the driver's profile had been removed. Completely. Uber wouldn't say why. They only stated the account had been deactivated pending investigation. Selena never received a follow-up. What was his plan? No one knows. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe the knife was for protection. Maybe the strange route and silence were just bad timing. But Selena trusts her instincts. And she trusts what she saw. "The blade was facing me," she said in an interview. "It was placed where only I could see it. That's not for protection. That's for control." She still uses Uber, but only in daylight. And only after checking every angle, every seat, and every shadow inside the vehicle. The ride was supposed to take her home. Instead, it took her to the edge of something dark. And she was lucky enough to get out in time.